Hey, is that really you?
It is. How are you?
This is a first. We're almost getting to meet each other for the first time, huh?
Isn't this crazy?
Yeah, how about technology these days?
Yeah.
And today's show is a special one for me because I get to catch up with a good friend here, somebody I would not have met if it wasn't for the fact that I'm doing this program now. He is a happily married father of three whose current musical career took his course when he was about 52 years old, give or take. That's a great story to hear. Maybe he'll tell us a thumbnail sketch of that. He's a singer, and he can now add songwriter to that list. It's going to make for some good conversation. And anyway, I'm rambling a bit here. So without further ado, and I think we've had enough ado, let me introduce you all to my friend, Mr. Frank SHINER.
Hey
Frank.
there. Hi,
I'll
everyone.
applaud.
How do
I'll do the applause.
you- Thank you.
You were
Good to see you
wonderful.
again.
Yeah, good to see you too. We're actually getting to talk face to face for the first time. We're getting closer and closer to actually shaking hands and embracing
can't
and
shake.
breaking bread and all that stuff.
Can't shake hands anymore, Dean.
I guess it's against the law nowadays, huh? How you dealing with the? Now we're doing these as sort of like the coronavirus sessions, and we're about 2 months into this, and now we're starting to see a little bit of stir craziness from folks. You can sort of feel that general feeling in the air, can't you?
You can,
Yeah.
especially performers, myself, my friends. I think we're starved for performing a little bit. You don't realize how much you need it. I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning the other night, walked down to the refrigerator to get a snack, and that little light turned on, and I did a 45-minute set to the broccoli.
I like that. That's a good one.
No.
How's your health otherwise? Yeah, we'll talk about your family too. Because your lovely wife Suzanne lives with you in the house, and
Yeah.
you're all going through that together. But your kids are moved out. Is that true? Or
They are.
Yeah.
And my 20-year-old daughter is at college with 5 girls in a house, and we figured they were quarantined, and it's probably safer in Ohio than it is in New York. So
I see.
she stayed, and she's taken online classes. She's a theater major. She's an actor, BFA in theater.
Wow.
And so they're still active, and they're doing their shows together, and they're doing rehearsals and doing online Zoom readings, and so we get to watch her perform. My 2 sons have their own places, and they're fine. And we're all healthy, thank God. I've had friends, entire families, that have had COVID-19, but they're all okay.
Well, thank God for that. I know that some people aren't doing as well. I'm trying to. Your mother is still alive, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
she's
So
a-
you're probably struggling to is she nearby, or does she live far
No,
away?
She's 2.5 hours away, but my sister's near her, and she's in a nursing home. They don't allow any guests.
Oh,
She's 93. Unfortunately, she doesn't really know. Fortunately or unfortunately, doesn't really know where she is or what's going on. But
we're struggling with that too. We know some people doing that situation with the nursing home. It wasn't
It's
like that
sad.
beforehand, and now they're struggling to to keep in contact, and they really want to just go in and visit, and they can't. They don't let them in. Yeah,
Exactly.
I have parents that are alive. My father's condition is. I guess it's okay to talk about it publicly, but he's in the later stages of Parkinson's, which he's had for about maybe 18 years, and it's tough. So they're used to being kind of housebound, and it's tough. It's kind of tough for him. He has some other conditions that which complicate it and make him very tough. So he can't get out anymore. So, but at least he's not in a situation where I can't visit him. I go to the house, but we're very careful. We don't want to bring any outside stuff. It's almost a sterile environment in there, and we don't want to ruin that, jeopardize that. But yeah, it's tough for every family. Everybody's got a story, and I know that it's tough. But at least you got your hair, Frank. And I noticed that we were joking about the cutting of it. See, look at that. Yeah. Maybe you should do Yeah, go ahead.
I could do a ponytail for the first time in my life. Yeah.
Then you'll really look like a good rock star. But this is Yeah, this is certainly a different time, but I'm glad that you've recently retired from your your quote day job unquote,
From
and
business.
from
Yeah.
business.
And
Yeah.
I went full time. I formed Frank Shiner Music, and I've gone full time. And if anybody wants to go onto iTunes and buy an album or something, please do. 100% of the revenue, not just profit, all revenue that comes in goes right out to different various charities. So I don't take a dime for it. It's my and my wife's give back period of life. And we just feel real blessed to be able to do this again. And so, we just don't want to take anything for it. And
Yeah.
so we've been doing charity events and concerts and so on. And hopefully I'm booked to do to do another big one, but who knows? We don't know when live performance is going to come back. I think it's going to be the last thing. I'm on the board of several theaters too.
Are you? Okay.
And it's going to be the last thing where people are going to feel comfortable sitting right next to somebody else at a Broadway house or something like that. So performers struggle because they struggle when it's good. Struggling now it's even worse,
Where are these theaters located? You said several theaters, or you just?
Yeah, I mean, they're local theaters, community theaters, high school theater boards, and I'm actually in talks with being on one of the largest theater companies' boards in Manhattan too for Broadway.
I'll be darned.
So it's a responsibility, and I quickly joined. Once I retired from business, the phone rang off the hook, and I joined 5 or 6 different boards. And I said, "What the heck did I do that for?"
Yeah.
So I'm being very selective now.
Being on the board, or have you sort of proverbially taken the temperature of the theatrical community? The actors and the people that work behind the scenes. How are they dealing with all this?
There's a lot of freak out going on right now. I get a lot of calls and just saying we just don't know how we're going to come back, or when we're going to come back, or if we're going to come back. So there's a lot of fear, and it's not fear of the virus as much it is fear that they could ever get back on their feet again. But you see that with local businesses. You see that with every corporation that you talk to.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just a really tough time, and I'm fine because I sold my interest in my company, and I'm doing music for the love of it. And my wife and I, thank God we get along. We're locked up in a house together all this time, and we're getting along like two kids that first met. We're having a ball.
Oh, good.
But the downside is we literally stay up at night worrying about everybody else. Our children and our company, or our friends that we brought into business in the past, and my other performer friends that some of them live hand to mouth every week. So it's a tough time, and I don't mean to be a downer because I'm a chronic optimist. I know we're going to spring back from this, and everybody's going to get back again. But I worry for people. I do.
I'm the same way. I have my optimism ebbs and flows. Maybe that's not true. Maybe the mood does, but initially, I mean, my inner optimist is always there, and knowing that things are going to be okay. It's just, I think you can be tricked a little bit, bamboozled, so to speak, by this has nothing to do with political stuff or anything, but it's just the way the press likes to portray things. You would think that the world's in an apocalypse. We're going to be ending very, very soon here, and I think people need to know that that's not the case. We've come back from much worse. This is just a brand new thing to everybody, and I've never seen the whole world literally shut down like this.
Well, it's aside from any politics at all, and I agree with you. We shouldn't be involved in the political side of it. The media are marketers, and they're competing for ratings, and there's a lot of sensationalization necessary to get you to tune a dial to them rather than somebody else. It's no longer strict journalism, and there's a lot of sensationalization going on.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to sift through that, weed through it, and decide what's real and what's not. But yeah, they pump it up pretty good.
Yeah, whenever I really do. I try to skirt around the edges of politics. Once you drop down into the partisan discussion, you're just you're going to get eaten alive, no matter what your opinion is, because people have been they snipe at each other, and I don't think that's the way it used to be. We've always had disagreements as people, but if you go on to say Twitter or something like that, you'll get really, that's where my depression might rear its ugly head, or pseudo depression, just going like, wow, people are mean sometimes.
Yeah, it's a sin. That's why one of the reasons I really love doing live shows is it's just a coming together to have fun. I never say anything political. And in fact, sometimes I would open my show. I used to, like, it's so long ago, because 2 months we've been locked down. But in the past, sometimes I'd even open with a little blurb saying, hey, it's a tough world out there. One thing we could all agree on is we love music. Let's just let our hair down and have fun. And it is amazing, if I forgot to do that on some shows, it would still be fun, but there was a certain atmosphere when you lay that out for people and give them permission to let go, and they do. It's really pretty amazing, the different reaction you get when you say something like that. As
a performer, let's take, for instance, 54 Below. You did quite a few appearances on stage there, which is Michael Feinstein recently took that over. So now you're working under his his banner, and that's pretty cool. That you can always brag that you're part of that. You do a performance, you do a set of all your songs, or a lot of them, most of them are covers, because that's what your albums were, and you probably have a great time. The audiences, is there afterwards meet and greet the audience type of thing? You do that?
I always come out. I'm so appreciative that people took the time. Some of them came on a bus, some of them in a limo from out of state, so, where they share a limo, 6 people. Some of them have been to 14 shows in a row and never missed one. Of course, the pressure is to make each show a little different because they're coming so many times. But I can't go backstage and not go out and say hello to them. So I come right out and sit with people, and we stay well into the night. And then some of the people closest to me, or people that have been there a lot of times, we'll invite over to the apartment or something. We'll have an after party. We have a ball. And that's for somebody that doesn't even drink, but I have a ball.
Yeah, same here. And I would do the same thing, because my wife and I are not drinkers, and we would go. I think that the biggest challenge would be just trying to go downtown and park, or find, because we probably, I'm sure we'd be, if we visited the city, Manhattan, we'd, that's kind of Midtown, isn't it? 54 Below.
Yeah, right on 54th
I wouldn't know.
Street.
I wouldn't know where you get to park, because it's so expensive.
Well, interesting.
I just remember it being busy.
Below. Yeah, 54 Below was on 54th Street, it's below the original Studio 54, and so it's a lot of fun. And when I did my first album with Gary Katz, who did 8 Steely Dan albums,
correct? Yeah,
and the first show, we did the album live, was in that, and he said it was a sound studio, and he worked there for the first 10 years of his career. It's like, how do these things happen? And I happen to be doing my first show right there in that same studio.
You have to pinch yourself sometimes when if you ever take a breath and look at it. Yeah,
there's all this serendipitous stuff that happens, and it's like, you just can't believe it's all coincidence.
There also must be a lesson in there somewhere, that this stuff doesn't just happen by accident from the human standpoint, that you have to actually take the reins and do something to make this happen as well.
And you have to read the signs. I even do a little bit of coaching on, like career day and stuff like that. They'll call me in for the local high school, or nieces and nephews or friends have me speak to their children or something. And I said that I tell them everybody has some level of genius in them, and really everybody. And it's just a matter of finding what that is. And they may have deficits all over the place, but there's something that they do better than anybody else or as well as anybody else. And A, it's finding that. And B, it's lifting your chin up and reading the signs, not walking around. I can't leave the microphone, but not walking around looking at the ground all the time. There are signs of what you should do. And it's reading the signs, acknowledging the signs, and then taking action on that, as you said, and swallowing the fear, because sometimes it's pretty darn scary to make a move, right?
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
I've just seen so many people that say, oh, years ago I thought I should do this and I didn't do it. And I say, why? The first question, why? I was scared. That's what they tell you. I was scared. And my sons had a long conversation with me about it not long ago. And they said, why were you never scared, Dad? And I said, I wouldn't be human if I weren't scared. I was scared. But what I do is I make sure that I'm more fearful of staying still and not doing anything. That should be terrifying. And that's more terrifying than taking a step and taking action. And so it's balancing, it's all fear, but it's balancing that fear. So I always made sure, maybe it's a trick I play on my mind, I always made sure I'm more afraid of staying still than moving forward.
That's wonderful. I'm actually writing down a note here. Like I'm taking notes on what you just said. Sometimes the biggest challenge is, after I've talked, I'm trying to think of a good title for the show. Something like that's on the list right here. Swallow your fear and learn to read the signs. I think that's a good lesson in itself.
Well, thank you. I'm going to charge you for life coaching now.
Okay, let me. If you need my bank account information, forget it. But I will try.
Now.
Frank's getting a drink of water. I'm going to do the same here. It really is nice to have finally hooked up after all this time. I was looking at I was looking on my computer and some notes here of your first appearance talking to me on my show in an official capacity was March 19th, 2014. That's 6 years ago.
Oh, 2014. I was going to say 19, really?
1920. No, that's only 6 years ago. But man, it feels like you and I have known each other since,
Isn't that strange?
A long, long time ago. I don't know. That's nice. That's nice to know. And that was after 3 months after calling into a friend's radio show where you were a guest promoting your, not your album, but your first single that was from Gary Katz, the Christmas single.
Yeah.
And that was a great story in itself. But that was nice to me because I always thought when I got involved with this, I'd go to events and try to network. And I figured I'm going to make friends with some people. And that's really what I got into this for. I wanted to have some friends with qualities that we're musicians, we're songwriters. We like to talk on the radio or whatever, and turns out I didn't make a lot of friends that stuck, but it's nice that we have social media. I was able to keep in touch with you even during the times when we were off doing our other things,
Yeah, we did. It's really funny, and I feel like I've known you, like you said, for a long time, and it's always been like two guys just chatting, right?
Yeah, and I like that about that. And you've been on a couple of times, but one of the reasons we didn't talk so much is I had other things going on in my life. I had a couple of health challenges. My wife had. You and I have had personal conversations. I remember a couple of times talking to you on the phone, and you were good. You were a good friend to have. Just a kind word is all you need sometimes from somebody.
Yeah.
And it helps you gain a little perspective. And I remember having a good feeling after talking with you. You didn't really say anything profound. It was just like, yeah, you're going to get through it. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Sometimes it's just getting off your chest, and you listen to a lot of my stories too. So
yeah.
But, that's what friends do.
Let's give the folks just a preview of what or a summary of how you got to this point. Would you mind telling the story kind of from the beginning of that day you went to the restaurant and you and Suzanne were discussing? I think you already know what you're already ahead of me now, but you know what I'm talking about, how you got started.
But just a little bit of background before that. So I came to New York to be an actor. I was a theater major, to be an actor-singer. And I was working a lot. I was doing soap operas. I was doing original musicals. And I went out of town to do a show, and Garth Brooks was writing the music for it. And it was a great musical. It was Broadway bound. I was the lead. We were having a ball. We used cover songs while Garth was writing the music, and we were reviewed by the Boston Globe and Time Magazine, and there were investors, and there were T-shirts, and this is really, I had hit it. This was it, right? And I remember sitting with the cast and watching the Country Music Awards that year, and they said the Horizon Award goes to Garth Brooks, and we collectively said, "Oh, blank," because we knew that was going to change everything, and sure enough, it did, and rightfully so. Garth went on tour and had to drop out of the project. The investors pulled.
Yeah, this is all before he became a household name to everybody. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And the project crashed. And at that was the precise time that we found out that our second child, my son Jeremy, was on the way. And I said, I have got to provide for my family. I was making $145 a week doing that show, and those were equity union wages, equity. And
could you keep all that in the entire 145, or were they? That's more taxes taken from that 145.
You're right. Tax taken out, and then you had to support yourself living out of town.
Dang it.
And I had a wife and baby and a mortgage at home and a little apartment, and then the second baby on the way. And I went into business. So I ran a company. It built it to 200 employees, and then Suzanne contracted triple negative breast cancer, which is 5% of breast cancer. So we were coming back from chemo one day with our little daughter. She was only 10. So this is about 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And she said, we were hungry. And Suzanne said, just pull into the first restaurant. And literally the first restaurant we passed, I pulled in. We got out of the car, we went in, and we're having an open mic jazz night. They had a band playing, microphones up. My wife, in her wig, bald from chemo, sick as a dog, went up and said, "Is this for singers too?" They said, "Yes." She put my name down, and I argued with her. I sat at the table arguing with her, and I said, "What are you doing?" And I'm not doing that. I don't feel like it. I'm miserable today. I haven't sung in front of people in nearly a decade, and so she started to cry and pulled her hair back, her wig back, and showed me her bald head and said, "This would give me great joy. I want you to do this." So I tease her now and said, "You pulled the cancer card on me." But I got up and I sang a song, and then I sang 2, and then I sang 3. I only stopped because I ran out of lyrics. I was forgetting my lyrics. And the guy took a break when I was leaving, followed me out to the parking lot and said, "Where do you sing?" I said, "Oh, no. I left that behind. I'm a businessman." Well, he bugged me for 2 months. We got to be friends. He's still a friend. Took me out to lunch day after day while I was at work, and finally convinced me to sing with his entertainment group. He had a little orchestra, and so I started singing with him with my wife's blessing, and she came to every gig, and I got to experiment again and get the creative juices flowing and learn new music and sing with different musicians every night, and just a different dynamic every night. I mean, you could do the same song, and one night they'll do it with a bossa nova beat. One night it'll be just a guitar and a drum, and the next night it'll be a full band, and the next night it'll be horns. And you got to do different styles. And one night, my then manager was there, and he said, "Hey, why aren't we working together?" And I said, "Well, let's." Next thing you know, I'm doing shows, and I'm doing an album with Gary Katz, and it just kept happening, right?
That's pretty cool. That's a wonderful story.
From getting a meal coming home from chemo. It's just like open your eyes and read the signs. How we started on this, right?
Yes, exactly. And you did. And
I did. I resisted a little bit, but
your wife pulled that cancer card, and I think I've said this to you before. She's also pulling. Did she ever pull the, "Hey, listen, all this stuff happening to you, it wouldn't be because I did this to you, and I got you into this now." So, but I think you both. I'm just taking a stab in the dark. You both are probably very happy at the point you've arrived right now. Not arrived is a weird way to say it, but you know, where you are now is probably great for you and Suzanne.
We enjoy every moment. I got to tell you. Yeah.
And as I talk to you here, you're in this beautiful room. You were telling me a little bit about this is the room that you create stuff in too, huh?
Yes, this is a 110-year-old home. It was old. We're in Chappaqua, New York. It was one of the Chappaqua Hilltoppers, and there were these big estates they built up on the house. It was a disaster when we bought it. We did a total restoration on it. It's the second house we've done a total restoration on. And we are in the minstrel loft, which was where the orchestra would have played over a great room, big music room with 20-foot ceilings. And the acoustics are so good that I do all my work here with the piano, guitar, and my sound system. So I do a lot of work here, and I love it. Because I'm singing out over this massive room that you can't see.
Yeah. But it's nice. Yeah, it's nice. Thanks for telling everybody. Some people might not know that's a piano behind you because you can't see the keys and everything. But yeah, because it almost looks like it was not a credenza, but it was like a big piece of furniture, and it looks nice. That's a nice. What kind of piano is that you play on back there?
That's a Story and Clark. See? And now you can see the
upright.
keys.
Yeah.
It's an upright. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that'll fit on this loft.
Yeah.
My buddy that is in the local orchestra is telling me I should have a big grand or baby grand down in the great room, but I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, you never know. In time, when it's needed, you know, if it's important. What's the painting on the wall? I'm just sort of taking little things on.
It's nothing special. We saw it at some kind of an auction or something, and it just said music and to us, so we put it there.
Yeah. It's just little, just for the video audience, so they can. I would look around the room, and I'd like that whatever's on top of the piano, that card or that drawing of the guitar. That's cool.
Yeah, that's a little booklet. I think that's my daughter's song booklet. She's been writing since she's 10. She has some beautiful songs.
Yeah,
she won't let me sing them.
Oh, she's still that way. You told me that once.
They're mine.
These are mine, and you don't touch them. Yeah. Yeah, maybe it's only for girl to sing or something. But has she sung them to you? Do you know what they sound like?
Yeah. No.
What do you think of them? As a dad, you would, but
I cry every time. But no, even I'm a realistic dad. I can be very critical, but I'm honest. And when I tell her, all three of the kids, when I tell them something that I think they could do better and they get their feelings hurt, I say, don't I tell you when you're absolutely wonderful? And they said, yes. I said, at least you know I'm telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Because so many kids don't believe their parents because everything you do, every little sketch you do is a Picasso, right?
Yes.
Well, I tell them the truth. And most of the time, I'm extremely impressed. I mean, they're very talented people. But when it's not up to par for them, I tell them. And I said, you should thank God that I'm telling you when it's wrong, because you know when I'm telling you it's right, it's the truth. And they do. Now they understand that. You know?
I'm of that same philosophy, for lack of a better word, because that's how I raised my two kids. And I always wanted them to have a positive outlook. And so I would praise them on a lot of stuff, but I wouldn't just praise every single little thing that they did. Oh, look what you did. You just cut your own steak with a knife. How nice. Some parents are like that, and then you wonder how'd they get so dysfunctional later on, or or they have some
they
flaws.
go out in the world and they find out not everybody loves everything they do.
True.
So
Absolutely.
you have to teach them a little bit of discernment, and
yeah,
I think it's important to be honest.
I was hoping to lead you into a little bit of the father-daughter thing because of her artistic proclivities there, but think back to your own parents. Now, your mother and father raised you when you were living at home. Were you over there in Mountaintop, or was this another location?
Yeah,
in Pennsylvania.
We went to Mountaintop when I was 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically grew up in Mountaintop, Pennsylvania, out with a chicken farm down the road. You could hear the roosters every morning.
Mm.
Really no neighbors until later, and then they came in. I was sent to school early because my mother was worried I was bored. And so I went kindergarten at 4 rather than 5. And it was a time to be creative because I was the only boy, and I had 3 quite a bit older sisters. My oldest sister's 12 years older than I am.
Really?
One's 9 years older, one's 6 years older. So they were kind of away and in high school and, cheerleading and whatever else they did.
Yeah.
And I was alone most of the time. So I learned to be creative and entertain myself. I sang, I did funny voices, I did animal sounds, back in the day, and it sounds strange now when I even speak it, but I had a little mini motorcycle when I was 10, and my dog, and a .22 caliber rifle strapped to my shoulder, and I would be gone from morning till night all summer long shooting.
No
I can't
kidding.
even imagine letting one of my children even touch one at this point. But it was
it's a wonder you didn't end up in the authorities coming and taking you away for doing that stuff.
My dad was a hunter and grew up on a farm, and he taught me, and so I knew safety. I didn't just grab it and go. He literally instructed me. But it's just a different world now.
A lot of times, know the parents, the man. I feel that they raised you well. You didn't do everything perfect along the way, I'm sure, but you can tell.
Yes, no, I actually did. No.
I guess what I was leading up to is as far as what I was talking about, artistic stuff. Were they aware, besides doing the funny voices and doing all the stuff to entertain yourself, were they aware that you had an interest to go on to do what you ended up doing, like musical theater, et cetera? Like
I found out, I think they probably didn't want to encourage it because I found out later. I was in trouble all the time at school, and it wasn't bad stuff. I was just rambunctious. I was creative. I probably a little ADHD. I couldn't sit still, and it was, we had nuns in a Catholic school, and they were elderly. And we really got the ones that should have retired or had retired, and they pulled back out of retirement. So they had no tolerance for me. If you didn't sit here with your hands folded on the desk and not moving, my legs shaking, the desk is rattling, I'm moving around, I'm joking. So I got thrown out of school every year from kindergarten through 8th grade, and my parents would have to go get me back in again.
Wow.
And never anything severe, but just being a clown or rambunctious. But I had one teacher in 5th grade that put me into his Follies show, and I had to sing and dance and do a routine. And when I announced to my parents in high school that I wanted to be or actually once I went to college and I wanted to be a theater major, she told me that teacher in 5th grade told her he's going to be a performer one day. Mark my words. So I said, I knew I loved that guy because he just understood me. And I was perfectly well behaved in his class, always, because I felt at home. So I learned a lot about how to treat people and adjust to their personalities because I knew I didn't fit in. And when I did fit in, I was okay.
Yeah.
And so now when I look at a child, my eye immediately goes to the kid that can't really sit still and is really the problem one. And it's my mission I make it my mission to get through to that kid. And I've been successful at that in the past too. So, and I think a lot of good teachers know that, but a lot of teachers and coaches don't understand that. If you don't fit the mold, they still don't accept you. Even in today's day and age, you would think it has gotten better. I don't think it has. Yeah.
Sometimes there are 2 tracks when it comes to that. You have that artistic track, and then was there ever a plan like the more responsible track to take?
Yes.
What was that?
My mother always said that I could argue with anybody that I should be a lawyer. So I went to school. I didn't know what else to do. When I went to college, I went into the pre-law program. In 1 month, I went into the guidance counselor and I said, I hate this. And he said, how are you going to get through law school if you hate your freshman year, first month? And I said, I'm not. And he said, I can't tell you what to do, Frank, but I can tell you this. Do what your heart tells you to do. And I knew right away. I smiled. I shook his hand. I thanked him profusely. And I walked down the hallway and I made a right into the theater professor's office and changed my major.
Oh, good.
So I was a 4-year theater major.
And your mom,
And
what she did after she got up off the floor from passing out? No, I'm just kidding. No, she was she supportive of that decision once you figured that out?
I was shocked, 100%. And even when I was coming to New York, my dad, with a little tear in his eye, because he was a baker at the time, and I grew up in a family bakery and an imported food store, and I really put myself through college. I lived behind the store and managed it, and I learned a lot about business doing that, let me tell you. Designing sandwiches and hiring and firing, going to the warehouse, stocking the shelves, butchering meat, the whole thing. And he said, you know, I kind of had a little hope that you would take the business and go broaden it and go national with it. And I said, Dad, it's been a wonderful upbringing. I've been working with you since I'm 10 years old in the bakery. I've learned so much, but I don't want to be a baker. And I didn't know how he'd react. And just the wisdom, he just smiled with a little tear in his eye, and he put his hand on my shoulder. He said, I know that whatever you choose to do, that you'll do well. And I went with his blessing. So I'm going to get choked up here.
I was about to say, you know, I was about ready to start crying too. No, that was that touched me a little bit.
He was an amazing man. And
yeah.
And that's the support I've always had. They never once said, questioned one of my choices. They never did. I always felt complete acceptance and complete love. And what it's taught me is that a lot of people weren't raised with that. And, and my children were, and when they get mad at somebody and say, you know, she's acting like this or he's acting like that, or why are they? And I said, not everybody has what you have. Try to be understanding, reach out to them. You could be that one person, you could be that mentor, you could be that one person in their life that wakes something up in them. But don't judge them for the way they're acting. They have to be responsible for how they act, but you know, give them an opportunity to show you who they can be. And they're all pretty understanding. My kids I've always been marveled at how they shoot for the underdog. My kids are the ones that if they're in a circle talking and there's a kid on the outside, that they open up the circle to bring them in and say, hey, come on over and say hi. I've got more stories from parents that, you know, their shy son was held by the hand and brought into the theater by my daughter. And I hear stories like that all the time. And that's the most important thing I could teach my kids is reach out to other people, be kind, be loving, be stern, stand up for yourself. Don't let anybody take advantage of you, but at the same time, be loving and kind.
Great. Excuse me for a second while I fix my stool here. That's my adjustable stool sometimes slips, and I noticed I was going down like in quicksand here. Pretty soon you're just going to see the top of my head.
I have very specific stools for different shows, and one is like a motorcycle seat, and
that's cool.
Yeah, but I would recommend that when you're searching for one, never search for stool samples, because
no. I walked into that one sort of. That was that's a good one. Yeah, the internet will only put in. You never know what you're going to get sometimes, even though you think you know what you're going to get. Yeah.
Exactly. I have a funny story about that, but it wouldn't be appropriate.
Okay, good. We'll just keep it. Most of my stuff's pretty PG anyway. I've always been that way. I've been kind of a square all my life, and
yeah, I am too.
I'm no prude. I can listen to that stuff and not judge people, and you know. But I'm just.
No, I agree. I agree with you.
Psychically, I'm not that way.
I keep it pretty tame.
Yeah.
but I'm still that clown from middle school.
Yeah. Before we leave that, Shiner's Bakery, was that your dad's avocation in life? Did he start that as a young man, or when did he start the business?
Well, my dad is a son of Lebanese immigrants. His parents came over from Lebanon, and they had 11 children. And when my dad they ran a farm in Loyalville, Pennsylvania, and he lived on the farm. And when my dad was 13 years old, he was in a truck in a car with his mom and dad, and a drunk driver crossed the road late at night, hit them head on, and it took his parents. So he was out for who knows how long, out in the middle of nowhere with his parents passed, and he went into severe shock. His leg was shattered, but he, by the time he was 14, started running the farm and stayed in school, stayed in high school, and he planted the crops, picked the crops, sold them at market, and gave the money to his sisters to run the household. His older brothers were away to war, and his one younger brother was home. And my dad did a little bit of everything. He always told me, he said, I wake up in the morning and decide how I'm going to make my first buck, and the rest just tend to follow. And that's where I got my attitude from. Just go, just step forward and move forward. And he always said, if you're not moving forward, if you're standing still, it's the same as going backward, because the rest of the world is moving forward. It's the same as going backward. So he just kept moving forward, and he would work night shift at a artillery plant, and on weekends was a baker. And then the artillery plant, after 22 years at the plant, and right in time for to get his pension, they laid him off. So he didn't get his pension. And he said, he was 52, and he said, what am I going to do? And he went full time into the bakery business, and he just made a go of it, and he was the town baker. Lebanese food, Middle Eastern breads and pastries and spinach pies and meat pies and bitlewa or baklava, as the Greeks call it. And then we opened up the imported food store and the deli and so on. So that was my experience with my father, but I also watched where he had a broken pipe, he'd do the plumbing, and he'd painting and whatever it might be, gardening, and because he was the farmer too. So he just did a little bit of everything, and he was a can-do person. He never, he would, if he didn't know it, he'd figure it out.
You mentioned the term I was going to say. He had that can-do spirit that he passed on to everybody in the family. I'll bet you.
Everybody in the family, yeah.
Yeah. It was
Right
just
down
you
to
and the three sisters. So it was just the four of you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It must have been a little different. They weren't that much older, but enough of as a family unit, they couldn't socialize with you.
No.
Plus they were girls.
They were quite a bit older, and they, people say, oh, you must have been spoiled. No, they were very strong women. I grew up, my mom was a very strong woman, and my sisters are strong women, and I was so young that I was kind of just the gopher, and I was ordered and ordered and ordered. I remember the precise day I learned to say no. I was 8 years old, and I was running. It was a big holiday like Thanksgiving or something. It was up and down the basement steps, getting canned goods and whatever, up and down, and nobody said thank you, and nobody said please, and I was getting madder and madder. And finally, I sat on the couch, and they said, and it was in those days, it was Francis. Francis, go get. And I crossed my arms. I remember it like it was yesterday. I said, no. And their heads whipped. Like, what did you say? No? And I've been saying no ever since. But it was, I love them dearly. I mean, we still have our little family chat. And it's funny because after my dad passed about 9 years ago, all of a sudden, the baby brother, they ask me everything now. And it's like, really? They still call me Brat.
Yeah.
I said, but you want my advice. So. Well,
that's good. And we just had Mother's Day at the time we're talking. Mother's Day was just last week, I guess. Yeah. And then I saw the lovely tribute you wrote about your mom, who was 93.
Oh, you just saw that. Oh,
yeah. Who was 93. And it sounds like she also did wore many hats, besides being the mom and wife of how long were these two married before he passed? Your dad?
60 something years. Yeah.
Isn't that inspiring to everybody? Because you pass that on. I mean, my parents were married, are married a long time, still around. And my wife and I are, she's the first one I ever, really fell in love with. I mean that when I say it, not just because of this, but no, I admire people that have a longevity, nothing against the ones that don't, but I really admire that.
Exactly. I mean, because you know what? There's a little bit of luck involved, but it's also hard work.
Mhm.
And to find your life mate the first time around is a real blessing. But you could also find the right one and ruin it. So it's a balancing act. You've gotta know that it's got to be a give and take. A selfish person does not stay married. That's just that I could promise you. At least not in a good marriage. So you can't be selfish and be married. You just can't.
Yeah, there really is a lot of work to it. Yeah, but yeah, I never know how to back out of that. But it's just a compliment to you and everybody else
And you.
that's like
Thank you.
that. Yeah, it does. It takes two people figuring out that's what they want to do with their lives, is to be with this one person for devoted to them. So
Yeah, and I saw the highs and lows. I saw the trials and tribulations, and I saw them work through them, and that's part of the lesson. We don't hide that from our kids either. They've seen us
mhm.
go at it, and we fight. I mean, I'm come from an ethnic family where my parents were Lebanese on both sides, and I'm 100% Middle Eastern, so it's like we have it in our blood. But I remember if we're having an argument, my wife would say, "Why can't we be like this couple or that couple?" And some of our friends, right?
Uh-uh.
They never fight. And the three couples she used to reference in that are all divorced now. And I came to the realization that the fighting, as long as you're fighting fair and you're not getting vicious, but the fighting releases it, and the fighting also tells you that you're equals. Because you don't fight if you're not equals. If one's dominant, one's subservient, that blows up eventually. So you might not fight now, but down the road. See, my wife will stand toe to toe with me and stand her ground. I mean, I'm never wrong, but
No,
I let her win a lot.
I'll keep quiet. I
Oh,
don't
she's
want
gonna
to
kill me when she
incriminate
listens.
myself.
If she listens back to this, I'm dead.
No, I appreciate her so much. Even when you're telling the story of what she was, the genesis of the career at that restaurant, showing, on all that stuff.
She's tough.
Because I can appreciate her so much because of my own personal reference. My wife is so precious to me too.
She was
For
so
so
sick
many.
for a while, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. You mine? Yes. That was very tough. She was from my perspective, she was at the doorstep, and she was, and we got her to the doctor just in time to admit her into a hospital to get that all
unreal.
Yeah. And she still, there's echoes of it right now, but we're so blessed. We have a whole new outlook on life now that we've both been through a few things, because our health was great up until.
Yeah.
I always say that, when I turned 50, the warranty must have expired, because a lot of these things started going wrong with me. And just as a sidebar for you, Frank, because I don't really put this stuff on Facebook too often, but after turning 50, I gained probably about 20 pounds. My health started going south. I lost my hearing in this ear. My vision, I wear these glasses because we've never really fully gotten to the answers of what happened. It could have been like a concussion or something in the brain that happened, because now I can't, I have a cross-eyed thing with my vision, and these lenses correct that. So the optometrist, or he would say that it was, I just had one too many birthdays. That's what's wrong with my eyes. But no, there's more to it than that. I look like Red Skelton on one of those, when I do some of those cross-eyed looks. And then a couple other things. I told you the hospitalized for the kidney twice, and then I had to go back again. I have to stop before I start boring the audience with this stuff.
Well, I'm sure glad, because you seem awfully perky and vibrant. So
yeah, we were talking about being optimistic. I've always had a positive mental attitude, but then there's the schizophrenia sets in, or that other personality starts to drag down that bad voice that comes in, that doubt comes in when you want to do something. I can't do that right now, or I'll get to it later because I'm scared to do it right this second. You don't want to say that stuff to yourself, because even though maybe nobody else is hearing that, you're hearing it. Absolutely. And you might talk yourself into doing something against what your true wishes are.
Absolutely.
I'll tell you what, before I start talking about this song that you wrote called 6 Feet Apart,
Hmm.
and obviously that's going to have a little bit of a shelf life because it's very pertinent now. But who knows? Years from now, you're going to remember. Oh, that's back when we all had to social distance.
Well,
But
that's when I'll change the lyrics.
yeah, you might do that. Update them for the times. Yeah, 6 feet apart, 2030 version or something. But before I get into that, tell me about some of the serendipities we were talking about. Now, before you actually had these 2 albums out, you did the single with Gary Katz, "Driving Home for Christmas," which was the Chris Rea song that I loved, and that got me right away because I liked your version of it. I liked his, and I liked yours. A little different. Got a lot of hits on YouTube, so it propelled you into some good press there. And then you went and did a full album called "The Real Me," which is a bunch of your favorite tunes that you and Suzanne probably
actually,
picked out.
the goal to that was to find lesser known songs from famous songwriters and give them a new life. So they were songs a lot of them I hadn't even ever heard before.
Okay.
And I got an A&R guy that just started sending me hundreds of songs, and I listened and listened and listened. And I was listening to the original versions and saying, what do I want to do with it? And we kind of gave them a whole new life and modernized them. So that was a ball. And then I picked them with my story with Suzanne and the story of traveling around the country and doing a show.
Sure.
And my show that I did first at 54 Below and then the Cutting Room and so on,
Mm-hmm.
I did it. I don't like the word cabaret, but I did a story music show where I would tell a story and it would one of the songs would be the appropriate song for it. So I did nearly the whole album. I think I may have missed one song on it or 2, and it was a 12-song album, but I did 10 songs, and then I put some other songs in too. So it was like a 14-song show, but it told a story. So there was a beginning, middle, and end to the 90 minutes.
Oh, okay. Thanks for correcting me. I just remember you telling us the story of how you and Suzanne sort of like were going over. That would be a good one, and she was contributing to the show choosing. Yeah,
she listened with me. Yeah, and so it was lyrics first, and then because I knew I could change the music and the instrumentation and the arrangement to fit what I wanted to do with it. So the lyrics were really important to me. Did they tell part of our story?
Well, that's
and she
great.
Listened with me on that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you had another album, "Lonely Town, Lonely Street." That would be here's your follow up. Now you got a couple under your belt, and that's great.
That was a Blue Eyed Soul album, and I worked with Jay Newland, he's a 13-time Grammy winner. I worked with Norah Jones and Gregory Porter. And I just heard in his recordings a vocal sound that he had a certain respect for the voice, and I wanted that sound without any electronic enhancement or anything like that. And we never did the auto tune or any of that stuff. But so we did it almost like a live album, and it was never me going in and singing to the tracks. I was looking across. We were in booths, but I could see the drummer, and I could see the keyboard player, and I could see the saxophonist, and we were doing the scratched vocals, so to speak. And I think 9 of the 12 songs we used the scratch vocals on. The other songs we used most of the scratch vocals, and I would just come in and sing a chorus here or there because there was a mistake or I bobbled over it or dropped a word or whatever. And so that it really has the feel of almost like a live performance, that album. So I loved that because he worked with me the way I wanted to work. He listened to what I wanted, and he did it. He did it that way.
That's good. I just wanted to sort of bring people up to speed that you were you got yourself a nice little recording career here, and that's great. And as you said, the proceeds are going to elsewhere. They're not going directly into your pocket to to pay for groceries or anything. It's more
and the shows, the ticket sales, the merchandise sales, all of it goes to some charity. Sometimes it's sponsoring a kid to go to a theater camp that can't necessarily afford to do that. Sometimes it's to restore a theater. Sometimes it's for a children's school that helps kids in tough places. I'm involved now with the Sheen Center for the arts down in Manhattan, and I'm supposed to be, if hopefully it's all going to happen, but I'm supposed to be headlining their show in November that I did with Vanessa Williams. She was the headliner last year, and she had me come in and sing "Baby It's Cold Outside." I think you saw that.
Yeah.
And we sang "Baby It's Cold Outside," and then I got to meet people, and they asked me if I'd do it this year. So that's supposed to be kind of a Christmas show in November. Hopefully that still happens.
Yeah.
And so we're just having fun, Dean.
That's what you want. I mean, you want to have some fun as you're doing this. Otherwise, you probably would have stopped doing this and moved on to something else.
Yeah.
But glad you mentioned Vanessa Williams. You just met her for the multiple engagements, or was it just that one show?
We did a full concert together where it was my whole band set and her whole band set together, and then we did a duet, and we did that for San Miguel Academy of Newburgh. Newburgh is the 13th most dangerous city in the country.
Oh, I didn't know that. My gosh.
And there's a gentleman by the name of Father Mark who started this school, and these kids from drug addicted homes, I mean, it brings tears to your eyes when I go to their benefit and watch it. So we did a full concert at a big performing arts center, packed the house, and we raised some really nice money for that school. So that's when Vanessa and I mean, we had known each other before that, sang in church choir and so on together.
Huh.
And we've gotten to be good friends since then. And then she brought me into this other thing. So she's just wonderful human being, really is.
I had to, that's a standout question. I just had to live vicariously through you for that night because, she and I are the same age. So I basically grown up watching her career, you know.
She's the whole package. Let me tell you something. She is the whole package. She's not only beautiful and talented, but she's such a good person. She really is a sweet, wonderful, intelligent, and giving person. So she's just got it all.
There's so many other people you've met. I can only think of a couple off the top of my head. So sorry if I leave somebody, but I remember you did a performance. Anthony Rapp came up, the guy from Rent, TV and movie guy from Rent, I think. Yeah. And
he did, and
that was what were you doing that he came up? And
I was doing a show with that orchestra that I was telling you about. It was early on, and it was a charity benefit, and he came up to do a song, and then I ended up doing backup for him and got to meet him. It was fun.
That's so much fun. Yeah, you get somebody that other people recognize in the room, and they go, "Hey, look at this." Yeah. It changes the energy, amps it up a little bit when you got somebody come up there and you can sort of join hands and take care of business up on stage and sing. And was he singing with you, or was he what was he doing?
No, he did a Sting song, and I can't remember which one it was, and it was the song that he did for his audition for Rent when he got Rent on Broadway.
Okay, he did a Sting song for Rent audition.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. I'm in already. I like Sting, so why not?
Yeah.
Gene Cornish, that's the one I wanted to really touch on because that seemed like a real thrill for you I don't know how you got involved meeting this guy, but tell me the story of Gene Cornish from the guitarist for the Rascals. Everybody knows.
I did the album Lonely Town, Lonely Street, and I did my version of How Can I Be Sure, the Rascals song. And Gene had heard about it, and I was doing my album listening party at Sid Gold's Request Room in the city, in Manhattan. And Gene knew somebody that I knew, and he said, "Can I come?" And I heard Gene was going to be there. I mean, Rock and Roll Hall of Famer, original founding member of the Rascals, and he's going to listen to this song. And so we're sitting there at Sid Gold's, and he tells the story because we've been on stage a few times since, and he tells the story. He said Frank was frozen. Frank would not make eye contact with me. He was so nervous. I could see that he was nervous, and he's absolutely right. This guy is so perceptive. He is so smart. He knows exactly what's going on, and he doesn't forget anything. Nothing.
Oh, okay.
So
That can be
I didn't-
dangerous too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is. And I didn't make eye contact with him. And right after the song, even as the next song was starting, because they play the album at these listening parties, right? He came over and he said, "That was wonderful. I really enjoyed that." And he went through a critique of, what he thought of the song. And he was so generous in his comments. And he said, "When are you performing next?" I said, "Well, actually, I'm scheduled at the Cutting Room on such and such a date." He said, "Do you mind if I play with you?" I said,
Wow.
"Do I mind? What?" So he came and we did a couple of rascals. We did "How Can I Be Sure?" and we did "Good Lovin'." That's not on the album, but we did it. It brought the house down. And he has since done 3 shows with me. So, and it got bigger and bigger. We ended up doing like 4 songs the last show.
Oh, wonderful.
And then he took ill. He literally had a heart attack and had to be resuscitated on
You
stage.
talking about Gene?
Gene.
I didn't know that part. I was
he
out of the
was
loop there. Sorry.
Defibrillated 6 times and they
Oh.
brought him back.
Wow.
And so he's on the mend now, and it's been a good year, and he's doing pretty well. And I talk to him once a week, and he's just a super guy with what a history. And he wrote a book, My Life as a Rascal, and it's really entertaining. I got the book, and he references so many different performances. And what I did was I looked up all the performances on YouTube as I was reading about them. It was just, it was really enhanced the read, because everything he talked about, then you could see it,
You're looking at clips from their heyday on TV and things. Yeah, it's something to watch, isn't it? Yeah.
It really is. Oh, wow, what a band. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So, and when he played with me the first time, it was 2 or 3 weeks from him getting up with Billy Joel and Felix Cavallari of the Rascals. And they got up with Billy Joel and they did "Good Lovin'" and something else. And Billy Joel introduced them as the best band he ever heard in his life. And I understand why. They absolutely were just amazing. Wow. And their music still holds today.
Yeah, it does. I mean, just that song you were talking about, "How Can I Be Sure?" I know that's Felix's song, but you just get that feeling when you hear that opening riff on the piano, the plinking of that piano. You're already in. I mean, I know what's coming, and how can you screw that up? But
and grooving and
"Good Lovin'," or right?
What's the Sunday?
"Never Be the Same." No, that's here I am trying. I'm not an encyclopedia of music, but I'm really good at that, and I'm just freezing on this for some reason.
Right.
But all you know is that when you listen to those groups from back then, you get a good feeling from that stuff.
Really. Yeah. And it was they had very positive music, very upbeat music. If you listen to the Rascals music, it was never a downer, never negative. It was all pretty upbeat.
I'm having I just recently talked with, just as a side note, I just talked with Creedence Clearwater Revival's drummer Doug Clifford, Cosmo.
Get out, really?
Yeah, we just had a conversation, I think it was last week, and hope I'm not going to bore the audience with this, but I didn't realize the 4 of those guys, John Fogerty and his brother and Stu Cook and Doug, even at Woodstock, they had a pact or an agreement that whenever they were performing or working in the studio or whatever, no drugs, no alcohol. They were clean the entire time they did that thing. And they said that they didn't want to screw up the performance of their music, and just out of respect for the fans, they didn't want to go in there and be sloppy. And I thought that was great.
That's admirable, because drugs and alcohol brought down more than one band.
Yes. Well, I said that not everybody, especially the people of Woodstock, I say, well, not everybody can claim that because, and he says, oh no. Right. Yeah. It says that they had a little bit of, sort of schoolyard peer pressure from the other bands and other musicians saying, no, these guys they're not interested in partying with us. Forget them, that kind of thing. So,
right.
Yeah. So it did, not everything that you saw in the 60s was all, psychedelic and this and that. But you know what? I only said I knew those people that Tony Joe White. I'll just mention that guy's name. Tell me the story of your connection with that.
He passed away a couple months ago. Horrible. Tony Joe White. I had 11 songs for my album. We wanted one more, and Jane Newland said, you would kill Rainy Night in Georgia. I said, really? I had never sung it before. And I listened to it and I said, yeah. So we did some different stuff with it, and we released it and we put it on video, and it got some nice plays. We did a cool video with text messaging in it and about a guy that's off lonely traveling and so on. And it tells a story, which I'm a storyteller. And to my absolute amazement, Tony Joe White heard it and tweeted out the link and put it on his Facebook page too.
Wow.
So I was so honored. And so now, on one album, I have one of the original Rascals acknowledging one of the songs, Tony Joe White acknowledging one of the songs. Are you kidding? And then we got a letter from the estate of his daughter and his manager, music manager, Doc Pomus, because I've done, I've recorded maybe 4 different Doc Pomus songs. It's just the most beautiful, elegant blues, I call it, because it's not just blues, it's elegant blues. His lyrics are just gorgeous. So I've done 4 Doc Pomus songs, and we got a letter from his daughter saying how she really appreciated what we were doing with his music. So, I mean, the acknowledgement we got was so exciting, and they didn't have to do that. I mean, for somebody to take the time out of their day to acknowledge something that you did of theirs, and you know how songwriters are pretty protective of their work too.
Yeah,
and to do that it meant so much to me, and it was such an encouragement to me to just keep going, really, because all of us performers are, can have a certain insecurity that we're never sure if it's good enough, and to get that acknowledgement, it was certainly nice.
No, it really was. You mentioned Doc Pomus. Your album, your first album, The Real Me, you did 2 of them, right? You did like 2 Doc Pomus songs,
named
maybe on
after
there?
That's one of them. The Real Me is one of his songs.
The Real Me, yeah.
And then we did A World I Never Made on that one too.
You sort of, you're responsible for my rekindling of my, checking into all his work, because I had known about him, I just never really took the time to research which songs were done by him. And
I mean, what a lyricist.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The real guy. The real guy.
There Is Always One More Time is the last song on the new album, and what a beautiful song that is. I just fell in love with that song.
But Rainy Night in Georgia, I just had to mention that. I'd totally forgotten that Tony Joe White gave you a little pat on the back publicly, and I thought that was great because, in some way it was probably a nice boost to your confidence. Somebody really liked your performance.
Because when you depart, I mean, we honor the song, so I don't radically change it so much, but you're still departing from what that songwriter originally intended. Because if I'm going to do a remake of a song, I'm not going to do it exactly like the original writer did. Just listen to the CD. I mean, what's the point of that?
Of course,
but I brought something else to it that I heard in it, and he acknowledged that. And it said it had to be to a certain level for him to be okay with that change, right? So that was really nice to hear.
I loved that song when I heard Brooke Benton do it, some time ago, and I've only heard a couple people cover it otherwise besides you, and you get a good feeling when you hear somebody do it, when you know that they love the material. So you obviously picked that for a reason. You liked it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. So let's see here. Just 2 buddies talking, and I didn't really have any agenda, but look at all the time we spent just chit-chatting, and I learned some great things from you. I forget what they were. No, just no, but there was some of it was old ground that I didn't want to go too. People can go on my site as well as your site, but my site, I have a couple of interviews where we talked about both of your albums separately, and you've told us the story of Suzanne, what she went through, and by the way, is she how's her her well-being and her health today?
She's 100% cured. She is declared surgically cured. 14 operations later, but she's surgically cured.
Oh, okay. So it was not. It took some work to get to that point where she's been medically cleared as.
It was 5 years of intense surgeries and treatments, and then follow-up surgeries for another 4 years.
Wow. Tell everybody real quick about this song, because now you're not really known for, as a musical person, you're not really known for writing a lot of things. And
no, I'm not known for it. I've been writing a lot, and I have written a lot, but I don't. There's so many good songs out there that I'm a little shy about my own stuff. So this was during the pandemic. It was almost permission for me to put one out, because there was nothing else going on. It was at the very beginning. It was the first 2 weeks of the pandemic, so everybody was. You started to see performers getting on. Nobody was writing original music. They were doing. They were taking their original songs and then changing the lyrics to fit the situation. And I just for fun, just to pass the time, I put it out there. I said, "Hey, anybody want to write a song with me? And I have an idea." And one of my keyboard players got on and he said, "Absolutely, I want to do it." And then he got COVID and he ended up in the hospital twice. And so he couldn't do it.
Shoot.
Yeah, in and out. And then he's fine. He's 100%, thank God.
Oh, great.
And then somebody else said that they were going to do it with me, and they got it. And then a third guy was going to do it with me, and he got started produce his own online thing, and didn't have the time, so I did it by myself. And then I called him and I sang it to him, and on the phone in 15 minutes he played a track and sent me the track over. So it's just a Hammond organ sound and a little beat behind it.
Right.
And he sent it over to me, and I recorded the song and I put it out there that said, send pictures in that say quarantine and 6 feet apart. And so people started sending me pictures, so they have their own families in it, and Zoom meetings and Passover on Zoom, and a Catholic Mass on Zoom, and just pictures of these things that as they were doing them. And I put it together, and I made a montage and sang the song over it, just at home recording. It's nothing fancy, and it just got a lot of play, and people really had a lot of fun with it. So
out of what happens in the world comes some art, but that's true. Yeah. It's a weird time that it came out, but you had some kind of inspiration. You were inspired to do that. So
and I reference a woman's name in here, and it's no connection whatsoever, but it'll mean something to you.
Okay. So. I like that. Do you think, are you ready to actually do that song right now, or should we wait until the very end here? You got it ready to go?
Totally up to you. I'm ready whenever you say go.
Okay. Let me ask you the final question, since I sort of hipped you to it. For other songwriters, performers, this can go for actors as well, because we were talking about what they're going through these days. Even in these times when we're going little batty sometimes, being locked in your house a lot, essentially, for all these performers who are optimistic like you and I are. However, sometimes that doubt or fear or even mild depression might set in, and you start dwelling on that. Is there anything that you might tell these people to remind them things are going to be okay? You can do it, something nice and positive, because that's what we are. We're positive people. Maybe you could pass that on to some of these people.
I think when you're going through tough times as a performer, you have to first tell yourself that creative people are emotional people by nature. And when you're an emotional, creative person, you feel things inside in your soul, and you have to know that you might be feeling it more strongly than even the reality of the situation. So when I get that feeling coming on, I tell myself, I'm wired that way. I'm wired to feel that. I'm wired to feel deep inside the pain, the sadness, or whatever it might be. So you have to almost mentally trim a third of that off right away and just say, listen, I'm feeling it more strongly than it is. I've got to get out of that, and I've got to look forward, and I've got to say, what is the reality of my situation? My family's healthy. I'm healthy. I can still be creative. I can find inspiration. this will pass. In a year from now, we're going to look back and almost forget. I mean, remember after 9/11? Look, we say never forget, but our lives aren't forever changed. We remember it on that date, and we pay homage to the first responders and the wonderful people that were killed in that tragedy. But it doesn't really affect our day-to-day life. This too, because we're the humans are survivors, right?
True.
And it will be behind us. I don't want to get religious, but one of my favorite biblical phrases is, "This too shall pass," and it will pass. And so, with the knowledge that A, you're feeling it a little more strongly than you probably should be. B, it will be behind us. C, it's an opportunity to be creative and to come up with new things. It's not going to make it go away, but it'll give you just that little extra boost you need to get through these mere weeks or months, which is a drop in the bucket of our lives, really.
And the silence is because I'm stunned at your brilliance. You're fantastic when you say that.
You're not easy.
I just don't want to ruin it, which I hope I didn't. But that's as humans, we sometimes we are wired that way. We can get in a funk. The trick is pull yourself out of that. Do look at the blessings that you have. Just to sort of feebly sum up what you just said. That's I tend to really agree with everything you just said in the last couple minutes there. Fantastic. Thank you, Frank.
And you can't fix it. It's not something you could fix. It's just little tips, and I'll listen to everything everybody says too. You just look for a little something, a little inspiration to get through the day, to get through the week, to get through the month. Nobody's going to say something and you're just suddenly going to feel euphoric and it's going to be over. No, it's not going to happen. We just need enough to get through it right now.
Right. It's not a magic spell. All these, these positive words, but maybe down the line you'll remember something that Frank Shiner or I said, and you never know. That's why I like this. I like to throw that little nugget every once in a while, because maybe the one thing that you thought wouldn't impact them, it does. And because I've taken away stuff like that.
I've taken away stuff almost daily. Yeah.
That's what we're. That's kind of part of the secret of why we're all on this earth together. And not isolated like we're what's going on there. We really aren't meant to be that way with everybody, be in little bubbles.
Yeah,
so
strange.
So what do you think? Let me see real quick. I'm going to see if I can put you on single view so that everybody can pay attention when you're singing here. Hold on a second. I want to see if this works. Okay, good. I wanted to see. I was just testing that to make sure I could put you on there so they don't have to look at my ugly face while you're singing your song.
Don't be afraid to wave to me, and if the sound balance, we have no idea how this is going to come out. So if the sound balance is not right, wave. I'll start it over. I don't care. I'm pretty casual.
So we're getting close to ending the show here. So just let me thank you, Frank, for taking the time. All I did was ask you, and you said sure, let's do it. I'm glad you had some time on your hands to, just. I can't just assume that because we're all we have a little more free time that you have free time to do this. And I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate what you've done here. This is going to be good. I'm going to put this on the TV channel because I know that everybody's going to enjoy watching you sing your song, and it'll be in other forms. So please listen to this and watch this. And I got Frank Shiner ready to go. Are you?
I'm ready.
Okay. I'm kind of like the Mike Douglas thing. I'm just sort of waiting to put you on here. So let me bow out for a second, and I present to you Frank Shiner singing 6 Feet Apart. Go for it, Frank.
When I'm not with you, I feel something's missing for real, and I need to see you for sure. But baby, you see, we have to be smart. Be with me only 6 feet apart. Oh, be with me Oh, be with me. I need to see you tonight. Oh, be with me. Oh, be with me. Be with me, only 6 feet apart. The other girls I know, they come a flirting and so, but I keep them much farther away. You're my only, you bet, and the only who gets to come within 6 feet apart. Oh, be with me. Oh, be with me. I need to see you tonight. Ooh, be with me. Oh, be with me. Be with me, only 6 feet apart. It's the social distance we need to maintain. Oh, Mona, that corona, we need to refrain. So, baby, get close, but not so darn close that we're within 6 feet apart. Oh, be with me. Oh, be with me. I need to see you tonight. Oh, be with me. Woo. Be with me. Be with me, only 6 feet apart. Oh, be with me. Oh, be with me. I need to see you tonight. Ooh, be with me. Oh, be with me. Be with me, only 6 feet apart. Yeah. Be with me, only 6 feet apart. Stay 6 feet apart. Back up.
Excellent. Oh, that was
the
wonderful.
Corona.
I see what you did there. You warned me that was coming, I think, but I didn't know exactly. Yeah, you were hinting that was going to come up there. I'll have to tell my Mona about that.
It's only because it rhymed.
Yeah, moon, June, spoon. I know, and that's what Frank likes to croon. So fantastic, wonderful. I'm glad that you were able to do that. Don't worry about the sound. I mean, it's Zoom after all. But
Yeah.
One day I might be able to get a good video hookup because I haven't done these video things in so long. But
was the balance okay?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, I think it's just as good as you don't want the music to drown you out either. I wanted to hear all the lyrics, and that was kind of cool. So you actually did write all that by yourself.
Yeah.
It wasn't you had some help from your friend there with that track that we were just listening to.
Just playing it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Frank. We got to do this again sometime. When we're all out of this.
Always a pleasure.
Just to do a little bit of reference here, you can go to my site, StrongWriter.com, StrongWriter, for other, this interview with Frank and some other interviews that I've done with him. He's down to earth. He's human. Somebody that you want to listen to if you want to hear something from the heart. And that's evident, and that's evident in his singing. And is Frank Shiner music still a thing? What is the website exactly?
Well, the website is frankshiner.com, and it's SHINER, like a punch in the eye. And And
that's okay, but whatever makes you, remember it. FrankShiner.com.
right. And Frank Shiner Music on Facebook, very active on Facebook.
Yeah.
Frank Shiner Music on Instagram, and Frank Shiner Sing, because music was one word too long, one letter too long, on Twitter. So and it's on iTunes and Amazon and
Yeah.
the two albums.
You have enough of a presence that people could probably just, they hear Frank Shiner Music, whatever, do a search for it, and some of your stuff will come up. And now you have some videos that people will get to see when they do that search too. So
yeah, there's a whole Frank Shiner Music channel on YouTube as well. Yeah,
must be something to see. I haven't checked that out lately. I got to check that out and see what
some fun stuff. All the stuff
the new things that are on there now,
and all the stuff with Gene Cornish is on there, and stuff with Vanessa Williams. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
How can you go wrong? Based on what you heard here, you're gonna like it. You're gonna like his like Frank said earlier. Go check out his his music. Buy the album if you're so inclined. You can hear little clips of it, I think, from other sources. You'll get the gist, whether you want to listen to more of this man. All I know is that he's a good friend from on two different coasts, and I really appreciate that friendship.
Thank you.
As digital as it might be. Some things work out that way. It's not what I cherish that, because it doesn't happen every once in a while. So
well, we're getting better and better at this thing. So I don't know, man. It may be our future.
Let me say goodbye to everybody out there, and then I'll say goodbye to you for real as I turn off the Zoom. But everybody, thank you for watching. I am Dean Olson. You've been listening and watching my guest, Frank Shiner, singer and now songwriter, 6 Feet Apart, from his non-upcoming album. But you can hear it here, and you can hear it. You made a video, correct, for that? You made a little video of it?
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
So check that out. Frank Shiner. That's all you need to know. And thank you, everybody, for my closing line is, let's all put our best friends forward, just like Frank Shiner here, and be strong writers together. So go forth, have a wonderful weekend. God bless. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time. Goodbye now. And end scene. Thank you very much.
Wow, that was fun.